You were talking about the reasons behind your reform, your proposed reform of the electoral system, which effectively makes it look a little bit more like it's different because it's a mixed system, but it makes it look a little bit more like the systems we have in Europe or in North America, where there's a direct relationship between me, the voter, and you, the politician, the person who's representing me.
Exactly.
One of the things that I noted in the video that you produced to promote and awareness of your reform, you talked about how for the voter now it's kind of seen as a privilege to speak to their senator or to their representative. And for example, in England, it's almost the reverse. There's an absolute obligation on the politician to speak directly to the citizen. Do you think that your reform, if it's accepted, if it goes through, will change that relationship and put more power into the citizen?
Absolutely, because the ballot will be very simple. There will be names, pictures of 9 candidates for 9, because we have 9 parties or whatever they are, and so people will be able to identify them. Parties will have to choose very well who they put in the ballot, because now they can put a lot of people that in any way they will bring some votes, but there's no actual commitment and choice from the parties for the candidates. And probably will be people that work politically in the region. Sometimes here you don't have to do that. You just buy the votes from there. And so that will create, and because only one will be the representative, it will be very clear who he has to respond to. And we introduce in these electoral districts participatory mechanisms like participatory planning or participatory budgeting that are, a common thing in the world and in Colombia too. Not so much because, but you create a space in which that will take place. Then you will fortify that linkage, and if he performs, then he will be re-elected. And he doesn't, he will be kicked out, which is the basic mechanism of accountability. Okay, and so I think that would help. The additional part of the reform, we don't have to repeat the creation of a bipartisan system that only has 2 major parties, which is what happened in England, beginning with the beginning of the 20th century, in what eventually became like that, or in the U.S. in Democrat Republican. So we introduced the proportional part, which means that for the second and third, and all of the members in the ballot that goes on the ballot, the votes when they lose get added up in the case of the lower chamber in the regional, not department, but regional level, and that will help create that sphere as a political sphere. And so they will the losers' votes will get added up, and they will split 40% of the ballot of the seats of that region. So that will make it proportional. And that will create great incentive to smaller and younger parties to be in the track to get electoral organizations at the regional level. They probably will make coalitions, so they will create stronger parties. In Colombia is one of the countries in the world that the parties are the weakest. In 1997, 9% of Colombians participated in parties. 2011, 3%. And the parties are extremely weak because instead of having to make choices, they simply write electoral permissions for the party. And so they don't make any choice. They are weak. And once they elected, they are the owners of the party. And most of they are active in the policy. Some of them are very active in policy. For example, the liberal around the land and victims law. Operationally, at the political level, they are doing what we just described before. So the problem is not at the level of generating the policy, but the problem is at the level of implementing. And clientele is especially hellish for the implementation because this is a concept that Alfred Hirschman, established in the beginning of the 70s. And what I call is, he called it fracasomania, which is the failure complex, okay? And what happens, I did my thesis on that, and what happened is that you have a policy and a program, and the president multiplies his political capital. Santos is exactly doing that by naming ministers frequently. And that goes down the chain, but that's what they call it, mermelada, but it's pork barrel all the time. And what happens is that they in order to get rid of the bureaucracy of the previous members of the bureaucracy of the previous, the managerial teams, the cadres of each organization, they label that what was being done before as a failure. So they get rid of the people because they were doing something that it was not working. And because of that, when they put their own people in any state organization, they cannot do the same thing. So they reinvent something else. So the problem there is that the time horizon of implementation becomes extremely short before someone else, comes and does the same. And so